Hello everyone, and welcome to part 12, the final part of The Firework Maker's Daughter by Philip Pullman. In the penultimate part of the story, Lila and Lal Chand had taken part in the New Year's Eve firework festival, and Lal Chand's life depends on them having got the most applause and in them having been the most successful with their firework display. In this final part, all loose ends will be tied up, so we shall see what happens to all of the characters that have taken part in this story and whether or not Lila gets to fulfill her quest of becoming a real firework maker. Let's see. Of course, the court official timing the applause had to give up because it was obvious to everybody who had won, and Lal Chand and Lila went up to the royal platform where the king was waiting to present the prize. "I keep my word," the king said quietly. "Lal Chand, you are free. Take this prize, the pair of you, and enjoy the festival." Hardly knowing what was happening, Lila and Lal Chand wandered back to the darkness of the firing area under the trees. And he might have been going to say something, and she might have spoken too, but suddenly the air was filled with the sound of a mighty trumpet. "It's Hamlet," said Lila. "Look, he's excited about something." A moment later they saw what the elephant had seen, and Lila clapped her hands for joy. A little figure came strolling onto the grass in front of the royal platform and bowed elegantly to the king. It was Chulak. "Your Majesty," he said, and everybody stopped to hear what he was going to say. "In honour of your great wisdom and generosity to all of your subjects, and in celebration of your many glorious years on the throne, and in the hope of many even more glorious ones ahead, and as a tribute to the splendour of your courage and your dignity, and in recognition of your—" "He's on the verge of being cheeky," Lal Chand said, as Chulak went on. You could see the king tapping his foot. It's a bad sign. "So, Your Majesty," Chulak finished, "I have the honour to present to you a group of the finest musicians ever heard, who will sing a selection of vocal gems for your delight. Your Majesty, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, Rambashi's Melody Boys." "Oh, I don't believe it," said Lila. But she had to, because there was Rambashi's ex-pirates in person, wearing smart scarlet jackets and tartan sarongs. Rambashi himself, beaming all over his broad face, gave a deep bow and prepared to conduct them. But before he could begin, there was an interruption. One of the dancing girls who had accompanied the royal procession from the palace suddenly squealed and cried, "Chang!" And one of the Melody Boys held out his arms and he cried, "Lotus Blossom!" "What did he say?" said Lal Chand. "Locust Bottom?" The young couple ran to each other with their arms outstretched, but they stopped embarrassed as they realised that everyone was watching. "Well, go on," said the king. "You might as well." So they kissed shyly and everyone cheered. "And now I'd like an explanation, please," said the king. "I was a carpenter, Your Majesty," said Chang, "and I thought I ought to seek my fortune before I asked Lotus Blossom to marry me, so I went off and sought it, and that's what I'm doing here, Your Majesty." "Well, you'd better start singing then," said the king. So Chang ran back to the Melody Boys, and Rambashi counted them in, and they began to sing a close harmony song called "Down by the Old Irrawaddy." "They're very good, aren't they?" said Lal Chand. "I'm amazed," said Lila. "After all the trouble they'd had finding the right thing to do, who would have thought it?" The song came to an end and the king led the applause. While Rambashi was announcing the next, Lila went to talk to Chulak, and she found him stroking Hamlet's trunk. The elephant looked happy, but of course he couldn't say so with everyone around. "Have you heard," said Chulak, "Hamlet's going to get married?" "Oh, well done, by the way. We heard the racket they made when you won. I always knew you would, and I've got my job back." Hamlet cuffed him gently around the head. "So, Frangipani said yes," said Lila. "Congratulations, Hamlet. I'm so pleased. What made her change her mind?" "Me," said Chulak. "I went and I told her about his gallant deeds upon Mount Merapi, and she was conquered. Actually, she said she'd loved him all the time, but she hadn't liked to say so. So, old Uncle Rambashi's doing well, isn't he?" The audience was clapping and cheering as Rambashi announced the next song. When the Melody Boys were singing and swaying to "Save the Last Mango for Me," Lila wandered back to Lalchand, who was deep in talk with the 3 other firework makers. They all stood up politely and asked her to join them. "I was just congratulating your pa on that mighty fine display," said Colonel Sparkington. "And half the credit goes to you, miss. That trick with the little bitty boats, that all went out at once. That's a Lulu. How did you work that stunt?" So Lila told them about the delayed action fuses, because there are no secrets among true artists. And Dr. Puffinflash told them the art of pink fire, and Signor Scorcini told them how he made the octopus's legs wave, and they all talked for hours, and they liked one another enormously. And very late, when they were extremely tired, and when even Rambashi's Melody Boys had run out of songs to sing, Lila and Lalchand found themselves alone in the great garden, on the grass under the warm stars, and Lalchand cleared his throat and looked embarrassed. "Lila, my dear," he said, "I've an apology to make." "Whatever for?" "Well, you see, I should have trusted you. I brought you up as a firework maker's daughter. I should have expected you to want to be a firework maker yourself. After all, you have the 3 gifts. "Oh, yes, the 3 gifts. Razvani asked if I had them, and I didn't know. But then he said I must have brought them after all, and what with rushing back to the city and preparing the display and worrying about whether we'd managed to save your life, I forgot all about them. I still don't know what they are." "Well, my dear, did you see the ghosts?" said Lalchand. "Yes, I did. They didn't bring the gifts and they failed. But what are the 3 gifts?" "They are what all firework makers must have. They are all equally important, and 2 of them are no good without the 3rd. The first one is talent, and you have that, my dear. The second one has many names. Courage, determination, willpower. It's what made you carry on climbing that mountain when everything seemed hopeless." Lila was silent for a moment, and then she said, "What is the 3rd? "It's simply luck," he said. "It's what gave you good friends like Chulak and Hamlet and brought them to you in time. Those are the 3 gifts, and you took them and you offered them to Razvani as a firework maker should, and he gave you the royal sulphur in exchange." "But he didn't." "Yes, he did. But he said it was an illusion." "In the eyes of Razvani, no doubt it is, but human beings call it wisdom. You can only gain that through suffering and risk, by taking the journey to Mount Merapi. It's what the journey is for. Each of our friends, the other firework makers, has made his own journey in a similar way, and so has Rambashi. So, you see, you didn't come home empty-handed, Lila. You did bring back the royal sulphur." Lila thought of Hamlet and Frangipani, now happily engaged. She thought of Chulak restored to his job and Chang and Lotus Blossom restored to each other. She thought of Rambashi and the Melody Boys happily snoring in the hotel Intercontinental, dreaming of the triumphant slow show business career that lay ahead of them. She thought of the other firework makers and how they had welcomed her as one of them. And then she realised what she'd learned. She suddenly saw that Dr. Puffnflash loved his pink fire, and Signor Scorchini loved his octopus, and Colonel Sparkington, he loved his funny moon people. So to make good fireworks, you had to love them. Every little sparker or crackle dragon, that was it. You had to put love into your fireworks, as well as all the skill that you had. And Dr. Puffnflash's pink fire really was very pretty. If they combined some of it with a little glimmer juice and some of that doubling back powder they'd never found a use for, they might be able to... She laughed, and she turned to Lalchand. "Now I see," she said. And so it was that Lila became a firework maker. That is the end of the story. So what have we learned from this story? We have learned that you have to put love into everything that you do. It's no good at just being good at something if you don't love what it is that you're doing. And also, you might find that you will become much better at some things that you don't think you're very good at if you just learn to love learning how to do them. So, it's been lovely reading this story to you. And please remember, everybody, love what you do and you will be good at it. Bye-bye.